The summit?
Yeah.
Directives?
Where do we start?
Hose already.
Yeah. The price of freedom is high. Yeah. It always will be.
I see. You had no choice.
Yeah. Let's get to work.
Welcome back to The Division. I hope you're all doing fine. Today I have a new video showcasing my Backfire solo build that I use in Legendary Summit with 7 directives enabled. So the build? For that, I will need a build with hazard protection. And the gun? The exotic SMG Backfire. If I am going to run a hazard protection build to mitigate the impact of the directives, Backfire is my weapon of choice. Introduced in Title Update 11, Backfire is an exotic MPX submachine gun in the Division 2. This Outcast custom variant of the MPX has a unique mechanic where it will gain a stacking crit damage buff for 10 seconds for every successful hit on an enemy, and every hit will refresh the countdown, stacking 200 times, giving you the maximum potential to deliver 200% additional crit hit damage. Did you say 200%? Yes. Backfire is the only weapon in the game that offers such a huge damage potential. Unlike other weapons, you gain buffs instantly simply by shooting at the enemies. It doesn't require a critical hit. It doesn't need to build up 75 stacks like the Chameleon. And as long as you're dealing damage to an enemy within 10 seconds, the stack is refreshed. So there is no cooldown or a drop in DPS when it is building up the 75 stacks like the Chameleon. In a way, it's similar to the Striker build. But you don't lose 2 stacks when you miss a shot, and it does not decay every second. What's more, you don't need a 4-piece gear set to have all that power. And that's not all. You can go higher. Higher? Yes. You can have 437% critical hit damage. Really? Yes, maximum effort. Let me show you. That's 412%. I am wearing the Coyote's mask. So? That's another 25%. I see. There's a trade-off. What do you mean? You will bleed. The handguard of this gun is made of barbed wire. So reloading the gun will inflict an unavoidable bleed debuff for 10 seconds. Where you will receive 0.5% of your armor as damage every second. You will have to plan your reload and try to kill your enemy as quickly as possible. The bleeding will stop after you hit 200 stacks. But it takes 4 clips to get there. If you are in a group, you can manage the bleed with some self-healing and take down enemies without going down. Or you can remove the barbed wire from the handguard. No, you can't. That's just silly. It's a trade-off. If you prefer fewer life-threatening scenarios, you have a few options. You can use the Ninja Bite knee pads. So you can skip the gun's reload by jumping over obstacles or moving cover to cover. That requires you to move out of cover. Or you can swap weapon during the reload animation, but that would remove all the stacks you have. Or you can run with a hazard protection build and sacrifice some DPS. I prefer running with a hazard protection option because hazard protection can be really useful. There are many game mechanics in the summit that cause bleed, disruption, and burn. The question is, what is the trade-off in DPS? Let me show you a build with around 97% bleed and disrupt protection. If you have 437% crit hit damage, you are going to hit harder. In reality, we don't usually hit 200 stacks. In the clip I have shown, I have around 165 to 175 stacks and it is doing a great deal of damage with good survivability. So what I am trying to say is this, there's no need to overspec a particular attribute because there will be trade-off and you will be leaving money on the table. With some adjustments, you can still put out a ridiculous amount of damage even though this build has 5 blues. This is now my favorite build for solo legendary with 7 directives. For the secondary weapon, we have the Police M4. The purpose of this gun is simply to hit target that is farther away. Also, with the 8x scope, it allows you to hit around the cover. We have the talent strained on this build as it works well in a crit damage build. For the sidearm, the named pistol orbit might provide you an initial crit damage boost with its talent perfect finisher. Basically, if you score a kill with the pistol then swap to your main weapon, you will gain 35% crit chance and 40% crit damage for 15 seconds. But if you are thinking about raising the cap above 437% crit hit damage, we tested it, and it will not be possible to build up even 200 stacks within 15 seconds, let alone raising the cap. In a nutshell, the 4 key pillars of this build are high damage output, high armor, high defense regen and high hazard protection. With this build, we are completely immune to bleed and disrupt, and about 77% immune to all other hazards such as burn, blind, shock, ensnare, and disorientation. In the summit, the enemies will throw a grenade that disrupt your shield and stun you, making you a sitting duck, killing you with this 2-hit combo, or ensnare you, giving them time to heal up or take cover. So hazard protection will allow you to break free quickly to finish them off. It's really an offensive tactic when you think about it. In this build, you will have hazard protection in all 5 slots, 2 additional ones from Yell Gear and 2-piece Cheska, 2 mods for Disrupt and 2 for Bleed. If you are not playing against special ammo or disruption from enemies, you can remove the Disrupt Resist mod and replace them with more critical hit damage. In this build, you will have 2 pieces of Cheska to get the 10% hazard protection from the brand set bonus. Likewise, the same for having a single piece of Yell Gear. And we use the improvised gloves because it provides you a mod slot for another 10% bleed or disrupt resistance. With this setup, you have bleed and disrupt immunity, as well as an overall immunity of 77%. You will be able to take some of the most amazing selfie in the game. Moving on, let's take a look at the Memento backpack. If you don't have it, try farming targeted loot, weekly legendary, league rewards, and exchanging stars for exotic caches. The Memento backpack will greatly enhance your weapon damage, your shield health, and it comes with 2 additional core attributes. The Memento is a great addition to the build. For every enemy you kill, you get a trophy, giving you both a short and long-term buffs. After collecting 30 trophies, the long-term buff will provide 3% armor regen, 4% if you are using Bellstone. It also provides 30% weapon damage, unmatched by any other backpack. In addition, you get 30% skill efficiency, and that is 30% improvement in skill damage, skill haste, skill duration, skill health, repair skill and status effect. So if you are using a shield, your shield health will jump from 4 mil to 6 mil, and if you do use a revival hive, the cooldown is reduced from 160 seconds to 120 seconds. The benefits in DPS and survivability is highly noticeable when you collect more trophies. For the body armor, we are using the Obliterate. It is the best talent to use for a build spec in a critical hit. It provides you 1% weapon damage boost for every critical hit, stacking up to 25%. You can use Intimidate, but it can be a little tricky in the summit when you are in a big open room. If the enemies are running away from you, you will be able to hit them with Backfire's range, but you will not have the damage boost from Intimidate. Also, you may not want to walk right into a room full of enemies. To get close to the enemy, you need a shield, because it provides you 6 mil of armor when fully buffed. You can use a Striker shield for the extra damage, or you may take the Crusader shield with Artificer Hive constantly regenerating its health. The choice is yours, if you want to play more aggressively or have more survivability. I have 4 different builds here to share with you. This build will provide more armor regen while giving you extra damage using the Striker shield. Do take note of the shield health when using this build. If you are feeling confident, you may swap out the knee pads for more weapon and critical hit damage. This build will hit harder, but make sure to use cover to avoid getting surrounded by multiple enemies. Otherwise, switching to Tech Spec will provide you a stronger shield when you equip the Artificer Hive. This build will provide you the best survivability. Ultimately, the shield with 6 million health is your best line of defense, and getting the shield regen from the Artificer Hive is perfect. Just watch out for enemies flanking you to avoid getting hit from the side or back. Which build do you prefer? Let me know in the comments below. If you have something else, do share it with us please. Please remember that it requires a bit of a ramp up for the Memento backpack. Once you have 30 stacks, your weapon damage and shield health will be greatly enhanced, allowing you to take on more risks. That's about all I can say about this build. If I miss out anything important, please let me know in the comments below. Coming up next, we have some gameplay footage. Please remember to share and subscribe.
Sharon, would you help set the mood for our guests?
Of course, sir. Let us begin.